Hello, hello, hello. This is the DAS podcast. This is our first episode. I'm Fernando Gutierrez. Next to me, virtually, because there's an ocean and a continent between us, is my co-host, Dan, aka Oaxaca. How you doing, Dan?
Doing great today.
Awesome. So, as I said, this is the first episode in this new phase. As you may know, the DAS Roundtable was discontinued a few weeks ago. However, Buster has already announced he's going to be doing another show, news focused one, publishing it at Das Pay magazine. That's great. We'll still have time for him. So in the DAS podcast, we'll be bringing interesting people doing cool things around DAS, but maybe sometimes we'll also bring people who are not that near the project and are doing interesting things in the cryptocurrencies space or even out of it. We'll see. We'll try to bring interesting people every time, and sometimes maybe we won't bring someone, and it will be just Dan and me talking about the DAS ecosystem and projects and that kind of stuff. We'll see. And we're gonna be trying to do the shows on Sundays like we used to do, probably most weeks, but we still don't have a fixed calendar. We'll keep you posted on that. We'll try to do it live like today, but it's also possible that sometimes we will pre-record it so we can accommodate certain guests that maybe not be comfortable doing live, or it's not convenient for them uh, doing it on Sundays. So a few DAS statistics. DAS is trading at the moment around $8.25, which is great. We are at not all-time high, but it's high since a long time. Uh, we had not seen these values for quite a while, and I'm sure we are all very happy about that. The masternode count, it's at 3,824. The hash rate is 170 gigahash, but a few days ago, or these days, it's been even over 200, and difficulty at the time is around 5,900. Today with us we have Daniel Diaz and Ira Miller, or Ira Miller. Daniel is part of Dash team. He does business development. Ira does software development and has been involved with many well-known crypto projects like Conapult. Both are based in Panama, and we have them today here because they are doing the Fiat Gateways project, and we want them to explain in more detail. They've also done the Lamasu integration, the ATMs, so it would be really good to hear about that too. So, guys, do you want to uh, tell us a bit about you, who you are, how did you got involved with Dash and crypto and that kind of things?
Maybe
Daniel,
you should start, Daniel.
Excuse me?
do you wanna expand the introduction? Who you are, what do you
Yeah,
do, how you got
I'm
involved
happy
with
to
that?
start. Hi guys, this is Daniel. Most of you already know me. I've been very involved with the Dash community from pretty early on. Um, and I think I've told this story a few times, but I got involved with cryptocurrency mining with Butterfly Labs ASICs and lost a few $1,000s with that, but gained a passion for crypto, and I was very engaged and um, let's say fascinated by everything Bitcoin and crypto related. And then part of those, let's say late 2013 and early 2014 craze, Bitcoin had just had its really big rally, and everyone was really excited and looking for new projects. Um, Dogecoin was released around that time, and then I was looking for new interesting projects to be involved with, and I found Dash, and I thought the privacy angle was nice and something that was needed, and I decided to get more involved, and um, then I got to know the team, and
Do you remember
especially
when was that?
that when was what? Sorry.
Your involvement with Dash?
Well, I started lurking. I started lurking late January, February, and then I don't think I felt the need to participate in the forums until an airdrop was being discussed, which was really something that I didn't want to see happen. I had already invested quite a bit at that point in time, and I thought that it was not a good idea to do an airdrop after investors have already been getting involved with the currency. So I would say around March, April, March, maybe March, I started participating more. But I was lurking since like late January, um, just because I was permanently looking in the announcement sections for new projects at the time. I remember I was also looking into Vertcoin, and because I had a friend that was very much into Vertcoin, and then I brought Darkcoin up with him, and we were following like both projects and trading back and forth. That was, I think, the first rivalry of Dash or Darkcoin at the time. There were many, but that's probably one of the first ones. So yeah, that's more or less how it was. And then I like to get involved with things. I like to participate, and when I make an investment, I like to try to contribute and make it happen. I'm more of a long-term type investor. I'm not a very good speculator or trader. So I have some business experience. I've founded a couple companies in the past, and they're still running. And I just got more and more involved with the business side of things with Dash, and so far it has been a very rewarding experience. And right now, Dash is my focus. Um, I I'm so passionate about it that I stopped doing other things. I got other people to take care of other things, and I'm currently doing Dash pretty much full time. So yeah, that's
Great,
how I got involved.
great,
It
good to
is
hear.
addicting. That is a fact.
Ira?
Yeah, great. Well, it's hard to follow a good story like Daniel's. Yeah, so I've been involved in cryptocurrency for since 2011. Uh, Obviously, it was only Bitcoin at that time. I started a number of small businesses, starting with something called Bitmunchies, but that's a long story. Um, my involvement in Dash is much more recent. About maybe a little over a year ago, I sold we sold Coinapult, which is Bitcoin cryptocurrency wallet and brokerage. And I was thinking, what to do next, and not that there's anything wrong with Coinapult, but if there's a lesson to learn, what can I do better the next time? And I wanted to do something more decentralized. I wanted to create something more like a DAO, even though I don't really like that term, because autonomous is a very high standard. And I already knew Daniel because, as you mentioned, we both live in Panama. And so he was telling me, at this time, a lot about the interesting things that Dash was doing, about the budget system, the master nodes tier that you guys have added to your network. And it really started to click with me some of the advancements, particularly on governance, or what I would call kind of business management, that Dash had made. And so I really became fascinated, and to the point where Daniel and I would sit around and drink beers and just talk about decentralization and DAOs, and what Dash had done well in governance, and what was really possible either for Dash in the future or for a software development team like my own.
Great.
And specifically, what we were building at the time is a bunch of what I would call market access or market ramp tools. So within Coinapult in the past, we had a full limit order exchange. We had brokerage for fixed price quotes. We had various trading bots for remarketing all of this risk onto different assets and hedging and so on. And I really enjoyed making a lot of those things. So we were rebuilding them open source with the idea that people could use them to make any kind of abstract cryptocurrency app that they wanted, and switch out the functionality that they needed, either a wallet or exchangeability. And it looks like Dash needed a lot of these same services. So really, it was a great fit. We were building a lot of tools for new cryptocurrencies or this new class of assets to interface with the fiat world for people to get in and out of those markets. And we were looking for a governance structure, looking for a way for our team to organize itself to do this work on an open source thing. And Dash had been innovating in governance and had already had an existing value and budget to allocate towards building out infrastructure, and needed more access and greater connection to the rest of the marketplace. So that's how the Fiat Gateways and our kind of more direct involvement together began.
Awesome. You mentioned Fiat Gateways, but before getting into that and the specifics you are doing for Dash, I would like, using the occasion that we have two great guests, and this is something that we would like to do every so if there's something worth mentioning, we'd like to comment on a couple of items or topics that have been around these last few days, which I think are relevant to Dash, are not directly related to what you do in Dash, but you probably have an opinion, and it would be real interesting to hear it. First one is the Lightning networks. This week we've had the first one announced. Well, it's probably not even alpha, it's like pre-alpha, it's a really rough one, but many people have been talking about them being worried that this could take out the Instant X advantage that Dash has. I don't really believe that because I think Lightning networks are clunky, you need to open channels all the time. When you open them, you need to propose the transaction to the blockchain, so it doesn't really solve all the scalability issues. It's great for micropayments, but which are not possible anymore in the Bitcoin network. But little more than that. What do you think? And also, Dan, if you have an opinion on this, it would be great.
Well, I've looked into the Lightning Network, and it just doesn't solve the problems that it's meant to solve, in my opinion. Again, you have to have the channel open, you have to devote your funds into it, and at some point those transactions have to settle on the main Bitcoin blockchain. So I don't see how it solves the scalability issue, because the transactions are still transactions, even though they haven't settled yet.
Well, I think the idea is that you're going to use this channel in the long term. You're going to open this channel up, and then you're going to make a number of off-chain transactions and then settle in bulk. But to me, that just doesn't seem extremely attractive. Not nearly as attractive as settling faster on-chain. Sorry, I think there's some background there. So yeah, I think that the InstantX network, or the Masternode network in general, is a little more decentralized. The game theory incentives are better, are more like a decentralized network and less like a walled garden.
Great. That's very interesting. I'll post in
Yeah,
the. Yeah, Daniel, sorry.
yeah. I was just gonna think that say that I agree. And I don't know the Lightning Network in great detail. But one of the things that Dan, I think you're having some background noise, and perhaps some background noise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't worry,
Daniel.
people. That's so you know we're really live. um, what I was saying is, I'm not familiar in detail with the technology, but one of the things that I was worried about this sort of hub and spoke architecture on the payment channels is, I think there will be a tendency for people to establish channels with the bigger, let's say, with the bigger nodes in the network that have connections to more people. And I think that is a risk for centralization, because when you're connected with a bigger channel that has more connections to other people, it's more likely that you're going to be able to settle with just that one channel instead of having to open multiple channels. In the case of Dash, it's nothing like that. You know, I think the transaction locking mechanism is going to be based on quorums, and these quorums are just going to be subgroups of the national network. And I like the system better. And but to be honest, I think Lightning Network can maybe work for Bitcoin and solve some of the issues they're having. It's just a different model. I don't subscribe to the idea that for other networks to be successful, that Bitcoin has to have any sort of limitations or issues. I think that it's just a natural tendency of the free market to have more than one alternative.
Mhm.
So there's more than one way to do something, and I think that in a market where Bitcoin is very successful, Dash can do better. I think um, in a market where Bitcoin is failing, other networks will have more trouble being successful. So I do think that we shouldn't worry about that, about how does new developments in Bitcoin affect the possibilities of Dash being successful. I think there's space for more than one network to do a good job.
Great. The other topic is the DAO or slug.it, this big Ethereum project that went into pre-sale or sale or however you want to call it, and they've raised already over 150 million, I believe. I don't know if they've already reached 200, but it's gonna take still for the rest of May, so they will probably reach that, and that's 3 to 4 times DA's market cap. The DAO, for those who are not familiar with it, it's basically a big investment fund. They are gonna invest in projects related to Ethereum that are good for Ethereum. So it resembles a lot to the blockchain governance system. I guess they are gonna go through many of the phases we are going. But to me, the amazing part is that they've been able to raise so much money and such big awareness just for a project that has not even launched and doesn't have the tools to do everything they say they will do. So, well, I will post a really good link that someone shared with me the other day. I don't remember who. I'm sorry. About what they need to do in the future and how they need to manage it. And when you read it, you see that most of the challenges are very similar to ours. But do you have any thought on if you know the project, because it's impossible to keep up with everything in the crypto space, so it's normal if you don't you know a lot about it. But do you have any thought, guys?
Yeah, I have very strong feelings in the subject, so you'll get to hear my rants. I think that Dash was already a DAO. There are other examples functioning before this. So, like other things in Ethereum, what has been successful here, what they've done very, very well, is marketing. They delivered the message about smart contracts and all the right buzzwords and to the right people in the media and so on, and got plenty of attention. Are they doing something very, very unique that hasn't been done before? No, it's been done, or similar things have been done. Are they, better managed than other projects? Maybe. I think that the Ethereum blockchain governance has a number of problems. For instance, the overall money supply, whether proof of work or proof of stake. It just doesn't have a lot of stability and certainty overall. The governance of the chain. So to me, I think this is a very bubbly sort of investing environment that's driven by a lot of sentiment. And once people realize that there are many competing DAOs out there already, and that they all already have some strengths and weaknesses, then I think that some of this interest and some of the capital that's allocated to the DAO will distribute, and for the better, because markets need competition. There shouldn't be one DAO, one investment fund for the whole smart contract industry. With that being said, it's a really great model. I wish that the Slockit team and all of the DAO projects and Ethereum team as well, great success. But I hope that it's not irresponsible to go so big and promise so much.
And I think that leads into what I wanted to contribute. I think that it's great that all of this technology is being explored, but I particularly don't like ICOs or this crowd sales that have been becoming popular lately in the space, because you're selling expectation, you're selling future expectation. So valuation is set at some point in the future, right? Like the valuation we're seeing today, or this $200 million or whatever it is that you've been mentioning. This is all expectation, right? And nothing has been done yet. And I think that's risky and a bit irresponsible to take that much money from people ahead of being ready to develop more sustainable value, or to more concrete value to potential users. And that's why I like Dash's model a lot more, because it's dynamic, meaning it's a percentage of the block rewards. And what that means is that if we're doing a good job and we're generating value for the network, then valuation should go up, and we have more funds to work with. But if we're doing a lousy job, and then pricing will go down, and we're spending less money. And I think that's very important, because at the beginning of the project is when you know less about your own product, especially in startup environments. You're learning a lot, and you're going to make mistakes. So I think having too much money too quickly, it's not a good thing. And I think that raising those amounts that are exorbitant ahead of having real applications or a roadmap is not probably the best model. Plus, I don't like, just in general, I don't like people having to lock their funds in ways they cannot access them Like I understand that in the DAO case, people won't be able to convert their tokens back for like 48 days. It's like a 4-step process to re-access their funds. And in the meantime, that leaves a very strange situation with the market itself, because you have the high valuation, but people are not able to access this money, right? And they're not able to actually trade it unless they go through a lengthy process. So I'm not a fan of ICOs or ahead of time crowd sales. I think it's better to develop value organically if you're a decentralized organization, and then people can join or you can trade in the free market. You know, and that's why I like our model better, because you're going to be able to have real Dash, the real asset. Buying the DAO is like buying a derivative of an already very risky asset.
Yeah,
You know, so it's like you're buying a derivative of a cryptocurrency, which is already a highly risky investment. So I wish they succeed. It's just not for me.
yeah, I agree. The article I will post in the show notes, it's about how they can fuck up because they have so much money. Too much money when you don't know who you are or what you want to do. It's really dangerous. Anyway, well, we've lost Dan because he's having some network trouble. He's trying to connect again, but in the meantime, we're gonna uh, keep on going. Let's go into the projects you are doing in Dash and how they are doing. So I think that we should start uh, from the with the easy one, the Llama-Su ATM integration, because it's more contained and easy to explain. And then we move the Fiat Gate era, or sorry, it's era or it's Ira, are you there?
I'm here, but I barely heard. You were breaking up a lot, Fernando. You want me to talk about the Dash Lamassu project? Is that the question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello?
I said yes, the integration project. Can you talk a bit about it?
Yeah, okay, sure. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. So with the Lamassu project, you said this one is more straightforward. To explain, it is, yes, we're adding Dash support to Lamassu ATMs or Lamassu vending machines. Unfortunately, from a project management or development perspective, this one has actually turned out to be more complicated. At the moment, the status is that we have a working beta with Dash added to the Lamassu server, the Lamassu machine, the various components. But it requires some extra things to run. So it requires to run a Dash node, and it requires a supply of Tether to use on the Poloniex exchange. So these are some kind of imperfections that we're working on. At the same time, the Lamassu team decided to independently start moving forward on an Ethereum integration. So we have been talking with them about how to make sure that the two are compatible to keep the Dash implementation in line with the core Lamassu project. That's under active development on their side, so it's kind of put delay in things. We're sort of waiting for them to finalize some structures, and then we'll also move forward with the same database structures, for instance. And finally, we've got 5 ATMs on the way here to the free zone, and we're going to be installing our Dash software on them. One of them will be deployed here in Panama. There's already a Dash Laimisu ATM here, so this will be the second one here in Panama. And the other 4 will be reshipped out around the region or the world. So hopefully, after we get to test it on these 5, we'll have a good working system that other people can use. At the moment, it's really just quite difficult due to the Dash node and Poloniex requirements. So that's where we. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to say something, and that's where the Dash Fiat Gateways projects kind of intertwines with the ATM project, and this is because when we started working on the ATM project, then there was a realization that there were some, let's say, enterprise tools or backend tools for crypto services that were missing in the Dash ecosystem. Like a Dash ATM or vending machine is one of the user-facing applications, and there could be others, right? Point of sale applications and different things like that. These are all user-facing. But in reality, we had a gap that was not at the user-facing layer. I mean, obviously, we still need to develop more user-facing services, but there was a gap in the sense that there were no like hot wallet APIs readily available for Dash, like for example BitGo or Coin and Pooled in the case of Bitcoin. There were no broker services where the ATMs could connect directly, get a quote, and offer it to the user, so on and so forth. So the first version of the ATM integration had to deal with this missing pieces, and that's why, for example, on the initial version that's working right now, the ATM has to connect directly to a Dash full node, right? Like the operator has to run a full node, and the connection is through RPC calls, so on and so forth. And also there's the third requirement and direct connection to Poloniex in the first, let's say, version of the system, because these backend tools were missing from the ecosystem, and that's why the need, or well, that's one of the reasons why the need for more backend and Fiat Gateways tools was identified. And I think Ira is working on a second version of the ATM that should be coming out, next or the next, let's say, couple months, where users or operators, ATM operators, won't have to run a separate full node, and they won't have to have any of this special treatment for Dash. Because we want to make it straightforward for people. We want the ATM operators to not have any extra maintenance different from what they're doing with Bitcoin, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. That second one is the one, I guess, that will be pushing and marketing to ATM operators once it's ready. Probably sometime in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we wanted to do something that would be, easy for them to set up, not a week-long process, which is unfortunately kind of what it is right now.
Perfect. And you said that they were working to integrate Ethereum. This second version of the integration you are working at the moment will be compatible with, I guess, with whatever they are doing now. So they will be Bitcoin, Dash, and Ethereum ATMs, or how that will fit.
Yeah, so the Laimisu team has been adding 2 specific pieces of functionality that we need to comply with or upgrade to. One is they did add Ethereum support on their server component. not yet on the machine side, so I'm not sure how they want to handle that. And they added a configuration for new configuration abilities. So in the future, you will be able to configure to turn on either Ethereum or Dash for your machine. And we've already completed the user interface, so an operator could upgrade the user interface to show Dash, but not currently Ethereum. I've seen implementations that show Ethereum, but it's not currently one unified interface that someone could manage all of their different coins from. That's our goal, but we haven't really. I think that we're further ahead in terms of wanting to cooperate with the others and build out a generic system, whereas they're just still experimenting and seeing what it will look like with their OneCoin. So hopefully, as we're all reach the same stage of completeness, then we'll be able to coordinate better on a complete, switchable, configurable cryptocurrency ATM.
Great. So moving on to the other parts of Fiat Gateways, because I guess that, as Daniel explained before, this project in the end converts into Fiat Gateways. Can any of you explain what are the different parts? Because it's a super complex project with many different moving parts, and I think that all us understand what it tries to accomplish, but I'm not sure we all understand what it involves and what are the parts you are working on.
Sure. So I think actually this is a great opportunity because the public announcement about the Fiat Gateways project was all centered around software deliverables. And indeed, our team, my software development team, will be building a number of software tools that will make it easier for people to access Dash or to build services utilizing Dash. But we also are doing a lot of non-coding things like business development or actually operating some of these services. And really the mandate of the partnership is a comprehensive way to get Dash into fiat marketplaces and to increase access to Dash. So for example, we've been introducing a number of our exchange operator partners and banking partners and other kind of people in our network to Dash and talking to them about the benefits and trying to set up masternode programs and different types of Dash-related services. We've been market making, so we built out a number of exchange clients to add Dash pairs to our team's trade bots, and something that I don't know whether that was public or not is that we committed to keeping at least $10,000 at a time in limit orders on Dash pairs, so essentially on offer to Dash users on the kind of global Dash market. And in the last couple of months since we started the process, we've become one of the largest Dash market makers around the world, on the average day doing anywhere between 5 and maybe 15 or 20% of the globally registered exchange volume of Dash. So already we're contributing a lot to the liquidity, and hopefully we'll be bringing on some new kind of partner services into the more extended Dash network. As far as specific things we're building, the first thing that's going to come out is a broker service that will allow people to buy and sell Dash for dollars or other fiat money through the Crypto Capital payment service. And I think that's a good high-level summary. Did I miss anything, Daniel?
Well, there's certainly many things that are being built in terms of software tools. I think maybe you could explain for people the different pieces that are needed in the back end of a crypto service. Since you've run different crypto services over time, I think that's something that people don't necessarily realize is that when we go to try to get Dash integrated into a particular crypto service, right? Let's say we go to an exchange and we want them to integrate Dash. It's not so much. There's two parts to that. One part is evidently the business decision that the management team has to make of integrating Dash. But there's a second part to it, which is whether the backend tools that they are using are available and support Dash, right? And that's where we've had a hole, and we're trying to fill. And so maybe you could talk a little bit of the difficulties that are needed in the backend, like the multi-sig wallets, co-signing services, so on and so forth, bid-ask exchange, matchmakers, and the different tools that typically run in the backend of a crypto service, and that Dash do not necessarily has available for potential partners at the moment, and we're working on that.
Yeah, that's really well phrased. Or what are all the services or the tools that are needed in the back end to kind of create a good final user cryptocurrency experience. And I think that that's really central to what our team is doing overall. We're trying to build modular components for all these services that will be people can plug into their cryptocurrency app or network as needed. So there are a number of different types of wallets that are necessary for a comprehensive kind of coverage. The first one that we just finished for Dash is we call a shared wallet or a hot wallet. And this is something that's suitable for instance, an ATM or a fully automated service to use where you're not really expecting significant checks or controls on the wallet, and it's just about maximizing access. Second, you probably want more comprehensive multi-sig wallets that you can think of as a warm or possibly cold wallet solution, which requires the actual signing libraries. It usually requires a server infrastructure like a blockchain explorer. Usually you just fork, most currencies fork Bitcore and Insight for that, which Dash has helpfully done already. But then you also need, you may need a co-signing service or some kind of related helpers that help you manage a multi-sig wallet, like a blob storage for the actual wallet content itself. And finally, when you get to, that's just for storing and sending funds, you will want to convert all of these things. And for all the different types of other types of payment networks out there, whether you have cash or banks, other cryptocurrency networks, there are a lot of kind of private fiat payment networks that people use in this space, like OKPay or Vigogo or Crypto Capital. If you can connect into all of these, then you still have kind of a few different types of exchange that different types of users expect. Some traders, for instance, expect limit orders and to be able to ask for a specific price. Speculators ask for this sort of thing. Whereas more like merchants and ATMs, they just want a fixed price. So you want a broker type service. And a broker will actually they need to clear. So a broker needs a bid-ask exchange on the back end. All of these different types of services we actually define as software components that should stand alone, and any service should be able to pick and choose and say, okay, I want a multi-sig wallet and a broker. And those two components are open source. They can just pick them up off the shelf, skin it how they want, and make their cryptocurrency app. That's the sort of thing that we want to set up for our customers, that we want to set up for Dash, to facilitate any kind of Dash service development or app development.
Okay, because I'm a bit confused about all these tools for exchanges. How do they differ from what, for example, Poloniex is using. I guess Poloniex, maybe they do their own tools, or they use others, or how does it work?
So a lot of existing cryptocurrency services patch together their solution from part of their own tools and part of services that are available to them. So that's where kind of business development comes in our relationship. We also will connect you to someone rather than simply saying use our open source software. So for example, instead of using existing multi-sig software like Bitcore Insight or something that we might offer, you could use a service like BitGo. And I think that Poloniex and a lot of exchanges do use services like BitGo. I know that a number of brokers use Coinapult or others as clearinghouses on the back end. So a lot of times if you go through and you see a broker or a wallet, it's just an interface and they're using others as an API behind it. But really each of the services needs to solve each of these problems. You need to have some sort of wallet, you need to have some sort of place where you clear any conversions that you do. You may need someone to guarantee prices for you. There are a number of different service components that need to be met.
Great. And you mentioned several times, and this ties with things that people have been asking since we announced the show today. They've been sending questions. So you, Ira, published some threads in the DAS forum about how you worked and how you hired people, and you have like a super flexible structure that could do many different things. And some people have been asking because they are really curious about how that works and how you organize that. Can you develop a bit on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. And actually, this is great for the topic of the day of DAOs. So our team is also trying to structure ourselves like a DAO. So when a sponsor like Dash pays money to our team to build something, it essentially goes into escrow and is paid out to developers based on a system of peer review. And it's a little more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. So for instance, for the Fiat Gateways or for the Lamassu project, Dash pays funds into escrow for our guild, is what we call our DAO, and they are then allocated to specific tasks to, for instance, add Dash to the Lamassu user interface. And then as a developer submits that work, if it meets our standards and the requirements, then they are paid out from the money in escrow. Over time, we hope to turn this into a very robust community that's all of these actions are handled on a smart contract, perhaps on their rootstock network. At the moment, it's just the way we internally function. We're working these rules out with our kind of multi-sig wallets and hack together tools to make sure that it works from a governance and organizational perspective.
Cool, very interesting. This also brings me to something else that people asked, and I think this one goes more for Daniel because I think he knows them. There was a project that was funded for just 1 month, the Dark Payments Payment Processor project that was voted in first month and it was downvoted, and it had some support from the team. I remember Daniel and Evan saying that it would be useful even if they didn't
Hello, Fernando?
they couldn't launch. But yeah, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. You just cut out for a second.
Perfect. Yeah, I was saying that Boo publicly supported the Dart Payments project, saying that
Sorry, I lost
even
you
if
again.
achieving what they were saying they would
I'm
achieve to us.
I'm very
Can you hear me
very
better?
sorry.
Are you
When
there?
you say can you hear me better? I hear you perfect. But when you're elaborating, I don't hear anything.
I guess Martin doesn't want to hear me talk. I was saying that was downvoted, but you had supported it, and then I think I've heard you say that the Dart guys were working somehow in relation with Fiat Gateways. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. When the Dart payment project originally came up, my position on it was that we should give the community projects the opportunity to work and deliver what they're promising. I think there were a few different approaches. I think it was maybe too early to go all BC funding, strict rules with this relatively small project that was working in a direction that I thought was beneficial for the project. So we thought, or I thought, and I think Evan agreed at the time, that we should give them an opportunity. Now, I do recognize that I had a bit more information. Like, for example, they had approached me separately with the real life identities through email, and there were these supporters, long term Dash supporters from New Zealand, and I felt it was a good idea to give them a chance to um, do something, and that we should probably support this sort of initiative instead of not doing so. Unfortunately, they only get support for 1 month, and then it was downvoted. At the time, I feel they were made an example of, to be honest. At the time, because there was this debate as to whether we should, what sort of level of information and planning and experience should we require from potential vendors that are contributing or asking funding from the Dash network. So I felt there was this debate at the time, and it just so happened that their project got involved with that. In general terms, I think they have good faith, and they're as far as I know, still working on their project. I haven't talked to them recently in the past few weeks, so I'm not sure what's the current state. But we did offer them that we were developing all these tools. I got them in touch with Crypto Capital. I also got Node 40 in touch with Crypto Capital, and that we are developing all these backend tools that Ira has been talking about, wallets, broker services. The broker is probably the first one to come out pretty soon here in the next couple of weeks, and they were made available, and I understand they had at least one meeting with the Crypto Capital folks. I am not sure what the current state is, but the idea is that any service like this, like Dart Payments or any other, would have access to these infrastructure tools that are being sponsored by the network itself to facilitate business development. So the idea here is that the tools that we're building are like public infrastructure. They're roads. Like any business that is Dash oriented is going to need all these co-signing services, multi-sig wallets, matchmaking engines, broker services, so on and so forth. So what we're doing by making these tools open source and publicly available to anyone already functioning and integrated with Dash means that it should facilitate new people wanting to launch this sort of services in the future. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Dart payments. I hope that they continue and that they make use of the tools that we're developing, but certainly it should make it easier going forward for any service to do this kind of work. We have plans with Node 40, for example. With Node 40, I have closer communication, and I've met Perry in person and Sean too in Miami. So I have a closer communication with them, and I know they already did open a crypto capital account. I'm sure they have to work through a lot of details and regulatory related stuff. But the idea, or at least our plan, is to make use of the broker that's coming out for people to be able to, for example, fund a masternode directly from fiat, right? So someone would be able to fund their crypto capital account and then move money directly into masternodes from there using the broker. So that's the kind of thing we're working on. And the idea is to have services like Node 40, Dart Payments, or whoever else is interested make use of these infrastructure tools. So there will be reference implementations of these tools that are part of the project that will be made available to the public, right? But besides that, there's also an open possibility for any Dash-related service to make use of this same infrastructure to start running their own businesses and start offering Dash to people. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I think it clarifies the situation because, like, voted, they stopped communicating
Fer-
in
Fernando?
their blog post and yeah, you said something?
Well, I couldn't quite hear you, but when you're done, I'd like to just add a little something to that.
Yeah, I was just saying that, but they are just communicating what?
You sound like a bee, Fernando. I just hear buzz, buzz. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ira. You were going to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say for our DAO, for the guild, my team, we are not trying to operate these things.
I'm
We're
sorry.
not trying to run a broker or to.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Sorry, we're not trying to run a broker or an exchange. As Daniel mentioned, we'll make a reference implementation of each of these. But the business development aspect of this is that we try to find partners who will operate all of these things that we're building. So we built for Crypto Capital, their latest API, so that they can serve as a payment processor on to other people on our network. And we built broker software partially for Coinapult and partially for Dash, so that you both can use this for brokering your brokering needs on your networks. And in general, as we build all of these things, our goal is to find many operators for exchanges, for brokers, for wallets, and to make Dash connected to all of them. Not to build one broker and one exchange and dominate the Dash market and take the subsidies. We're building open source components and trying to create as many business connections related to those components as possible.
Yeah, and actually we've already been successful in finding a couple of partners. Nothing that we can discuss publicly, but there's Ira has been successful in getting Dash or getting some exchanges to accept integrating Dash and different things like that that we're working on. Unfortunately, as I think we've shared with the community historically, the business development work that I do for the most part is hard because you can't really communicate publicly ahead of time before some of these integrations are concrete and before the services that we're integrating with have decided that from a business perspective it makes sense to go public with the news. So that's very limiting in terms of communication. But the good news is that I think we're being successful in delivering the Dash message, and I found that services lately have been a lot more receptive than they were, let's say, a year ago. So there are a few integrations coming even this year, later in the year, that should happen, and I think it's going to be good for the network and for users.
Perfect. So, well, I hope you are listening to me. We are already on the hour in the show, so we should start with closure. Is there any other thing you guys want to add regarding these projects, or any other thing you want to mention?
I just want to say I'm very proud to work with Dash. Ever since I've been talking to Daniel for over a year of this, but in particular the VidConf last year, where Daniel and Evan and I got a lot of time to discuss, was very mind-blowing for me to hear some of the things you guys have been doing. So I just want to say I'm proud to be working with such an innovative team, and keep sending Daniel and Evan out to tell the rest of the community, because what Dash has done is at least as exciting as DAO and Ethereum, and it's just a matter of getting the message out there and phrasing it correctly.
Perfect. That's great to hear, because you are more in contact probably with other coins or the crypto space in a wider sense. So good words coming from you are not good words coming from a fanboy who's only involved in our community. You you know other parts of the ecosystem. So thank you for that. Daniel, any last words you wanna have?
Yeah, sure. I would say that I'm very excited about the work that we're doing. I think there's a method to our madness in terms of where we're going with these projects. Um, because my natural there was a progression in this, or my approach to developing our network has evolved as I've been more and more involved with the crypto space in general. And I think the initial natural approach was like, let's reach out to merchants, or let's try to get more adoption. But in order for adoption to happen, there's another layer that people need to realize. There's a B2B layer that's happening in the crypto space, and that if you're not running crypto services, maybe it's not very apparent to you. But all of these tools that we've been discussing, like BitGo or Coinapult or co-signing services like CoPay and things like that, there's a whole B2B ecosystem out there, and that we need to get either integrated or at least have reference solutions for all the different pieces that are a requirement for the backend system of a crypto service, so that we can then approach public-facing services and have solutions for them when they make the business decision to add Dash. Because currently, when you approach a merchant, then they're going to need payment processing. They're going to need, exchange services or fiat access, and so on and so forth. And we're working hard in this direction. I feel that we're ahead of the market in this. If we're discussing altcoins, in building all these tools, we're very conscious of what's required at the moment and making efforts to do that. And so we're going to continue. There's more integration and more services coming. We can't discuss all of them right now. One interesting project I would like to close with is the work that we're doing with hardware wallets. We have had many discussions with the different hardware wallet companies, especially three: KeepKey, Trezor, and Ledger. We've had conversations with all three of them, and right now the KeepKey and Trezor integration are being completed, and hopefully we'll add Ledger pretty soon too. And the idea is that we're going to be able to store Dash and manage nodes from hardware wallets pretty soon, and that should really open Dash investment to some investors that are not or do not wish to hold their own coin in computers, in cold wallets, and do the whole masternode start, masternode stop that we're really used to in the community. I've had conversations about this with Ira in the past about investors being interested but not really wanting to take the risk of holding coin in regular computers. And I believe that this should be very helpful. So this is coming quite soon, and we're going to try to also do partnerships with these hardware wallet companies so that we can do joint press releases and special promotions for Dash holders, so on and so forth. So we're doing things like this. There's some other avenues we're exploring that we can't discuss publicly at the moment, but I think there's a lot of exciting stuff coming, and Dash is going to become more and more useful. And I think we have a role to play in the future of cryptocurrency, independent of anything any other network does. You know, the important thing is that anyone that decides to join the Dash network should be able to have a very user-friendly experience. And you know, we're becoming this decentralized banking solution. So for that, we need easy ways to get in and out of the currency. So we'll continue to work on this Fiat Gateways project, and you know, we're excited to publish and communicate as much as we can as soon as information becomes available.
Great, thank you very much. Well, this has been the first DAS podcast episode. I'm sorry about the sound problems and the network problems. Oaxaca couldn't connect back again, and I know you've been having some trouble to hear to me. I've recorded the sound locally, so hopefully I will be able to prepare something better to publish at SoundCloud. And next shows we'll try to come up with better solutions. Our next guest will probably be Andy Freer, the lead developer of Evolution. That will be probably next week or the one after that. We are still finishing the schedule, but we'll announce as soon as that is available. And I'm gonna make a last call also to everyone out there. We are trying to get Dash into a stack exchange and have our own question and answers site. So in order to get that, we need to go through a process, and we need to uh, show that we are big enough and worthy of a site there. At the moment, only Bitcoin and Ethereum have one. So it would be great if we achieve that. So please go to Area 51 with numbers, Area 51 .stackexchange.com, and there you search for Dash and you find the proposal. Be sure to follow it and vote for questions that have less than 10 votes. We already have the required number of users to get into the next phase, but we don't have enough questions with 10 or more votes. So please make sure you vote question votes there. And that was all for today. Thank you very much for listening, at least the parts in which it was possible to listen to us. Daniel, Ira, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, thanks for being on, or for having us on. Sorry.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye now.